The Mountain and the Squirrel. This poem is written by an American essayist, poet of mid-19th century, Ralph Waldo Emerson. This poem is in the form of a fable. There are two characters talking to each other in the poem. That is, as the name suggests, the mountain and the squirrel. The mountain and the squirrel had a quarrel, and the former called the latter little pig. Now, from the opening line of the poem, we come to know that the two characters in the poem, the mountain and the squirrel, they had a fight with each other. And the cause of that fight was that the former, which means the mountain, and latter here refers to the squirrel. So the mountain called squirrel, teased the squirrel by calling it a little prig. Now, what is a prig? Prig is someone who considers himself or herself morally superior or better than others or superior to others. Now, this suggests that probably the mountain was unhappy over the fact that the squirrel did not give it the due importance because of its huge size. So, to tease the squirrel, the mountain calls it prig, little prig. Bun replied, "You are doubtless very big." Bun is the name of the squirrel. So the squirrel said, in response to the mountain's comment, that there is no doubt that you are very big, because the mountain had called it little prig. So therefore, in reply to that comment, the squirrel says that there is no doubt that you have got a very huge size, you are very large, but then you should never forget that all sorts of things and weather must be taken in together. So the squirrel says that you should not forget that everything in this world is equally important, equally significant, and there is a reason why they are there. There is a reason why they exist. So, but all sorts of things here refers to different creatures created by the Almighty God. So, different creatures of different, irrespective of their shape, size, and their capabilities. Weather means the four weathers created by the Almighty God, that is the spring season, the summer season, the winter season, and the autumn season. So all the four seasons and all the creation of God, no matter they are big, they are small, irrespective of their capabilities, they are taken together. Nothing can be dropped. If one thing goes missing, the balance of the creation will get disturbed. The harmony in the creation, in the God's creation, will get disturbed. So the squirrel says that to make a year, all the four presence of all the four seasons is must. If one season goes missing, the year will not complete. Same goes with the earth and a sphere. Sphere means the earth. The earth is made up of different kinds of creatures of different size, and each creatures have their own capacities, their own talent. So the squirrel says that every creation of God, or in the creation of God, everything is important. Nothing is insignificant or more significant. Everything is equally significant. If they are there in the God's creation, then there is a reason behind it. There is a meaning behind it. Nothing in God's creation can be skipped. So, and I think it no disgrace. So, and a sphere. What makes the earth complete? What makes the earth look like as it looks now is the presence of all big and small creations of God. And I think it no disgrace to occupy my place. So the squirrel says that it is not ashamed of its small size. It doesn't think that God has been unkind or unjust to it by making it so small. So it is happy with its size to occupy my place. The squirrel is satisfied with the role that is assigned to him by Almighty God. If I am not so large as you, you are not so small as I. So the squirrel says that remember, nobody is superior in this world or inferior in this world. And each creature created by God has its own strengths as well as weaknesses. Now, the squirrel is now highlighting the strengths and weaknesses of the mountain as well as of itself. I'm not so large as you. So what is the weakness of the squirrel? The weakness is that it is very small in size. It is not as huge or large as is the mountain. You are not so small as I. And what is the weakness of the mountain? The weakness of the mountain is that it is not so small as like the squirrel. So if huge size has its own weaknesses and strength, small size too has its own strength and weaknesses. So and not half so spry. Now is now pointing out the weaknesses of the mountain. Not half so spry. So the squirrel says that it is very quick, very fast, very agile. With its small size, it can move quickly and very fast. But what about the mountain? The mountain is not half as fast and as quick and agile as is the squirrel. It is static. It cannot move. That is the weakness of the mountain. I will not deny you make a very pretty squirrel track. Then now the squirrel is talking about the strength of the mountain. So what does the squirrel says? That that it agrees. It cannot deny that the mountain makes a beautiful track for the squirrel to make its home, to play around, to eat. But then talents differ. It says every creation of God is gifted with some or the other talent. One talent, one individual's talent does not resemble, is not similar to the other person's talent. So every creation has its own talent, though the talents may be different. All is well and wisely put. He says, remember that if mountain is important for the creation to run, squirrel's existence is equally important. If God has created a huge something huge like the mountain and something so small as the squirrel, there is a cause behind it. Every creature is put in this creation of God with some reason. So everybody's place on earth is equally important. If I cannot carry forest on my back, neither can you crack a nut. So the squirrel says that the strength of the mountain is that it can carry a forest on its back. Huge trees grow on the mountain, sorry. Neither can you crack a nut. So, which the squirrel cannot. A squirrel cannot carry a forest on its back because it is very small. But then, neither can you crack a nut. The mountain cannot crack a small nut, which the squirrel can do it very easily. So, the moral of this poem is that in this creation of God, everything is equally important. Nobody is superior, nobody is inferior. Every individual has been gifted with some talent, and every talent has a significant place in God's creation. So man must not boast of its capability. One must not feel proud of his strength, because if he has a strength, he has weaknesses. Nobody in this world is perfect. Everybody has got his own strength and weaknesses, and which is what man must learn to admit and accept.